What's up everyone, it's Kelly and today I've got another swatch review for you. So today we are talking about China Glaze Fall 2022. They have a new collection which is called I Don't Give a Sip, and it is a coffee themed nail polish collection. And I actually asked you guys in my community tab if I should combine this collection with the Zoya Fall 2022 collection because they're both relatively small collections that were all cream finishes, and I was just going to combine them into one video. But once I started swatching these, I realized I had to do a separate video on them because I have a lot of thoughts. But before we get into that, if you haven't heard of China Glaze before, they are a mainstream nail polish brand that is 7 free, meaning they are free of 7 of the potentially harmful ingredients that can be found in nail polish. They are vegan, meaning they do not use any animal-derived ingredients, and they're also cruelty-free, meaning they do not test their products on animals. So like I said, we've got 6 new nail polishes, all cream finishes, and they're all these sort of nude beige to brown kind of shades that are all inspired by coffee. And let me tell you, it was a roller coaster of emotions with these polishes, but I'm gonna explain that after the swatches. So let me show you the swatches first, then we'll talk about my thoughts on it and also pricing and availability. So roll the footage. So as with all of my swatch and review videos, I am using base coat underneath all of my swatches just to protect my natural nail and prevent any stains. Today it's the Early Bonder, nobody's surprised. Alright, so we'll go from light to dark here. This first shade is called Coffee First, People Later, and it is this super light, almost white ivory cream shade. And I feel like this is a very light shade to be in a coffee themed collection. I'm assuming that this is maybe supposed to represent the creamer, but I feel like the name should have been a pun about creamers instead of something about coffee, because I don't think it's even possible for your coffee to be this color. But regardless, I went into it with an open mind, and I found that even in 3 coats, there was just a little bit of sheerness and patchiness. I feel like it's hard to tell on camera, especially with lighter colors, because you kind of lose some of the shadows in the patchiness. But in real life, I don't think I could have gotten away with wearing this in 3 coats. So I did end up having to put on a 4th coat. So we were off to a not so great start with this collection. I just think a 4-coater on my short nails is not necessary at all, especially because I have 2 coaters that are this light, so not a great start. Next up we have the shade Hug in a Mug, and this one is a very light warm toned beige cream, and I was actually really excited about this color. As you can see, I am a very yellow undertoned person, and this is pretty much my exact skin color. And I always love a nude that matches me exactly, because there's just something, I don't know, like uncanny but also kind of cool looking about your nails being the same exact color as the rest of you. But again, I just felt like it was a little patchy in 2 coats, so I ended up having to do a 3rd, which I didn't absolutely love, but I do think that it's forgivable. But even in 3 coats, I noticed that these polishes were just not very self-leveling. They ended up being fairly lumpy, and even me, who's pretty experienced in painting my nails, had trouble keeping them from kind of clumping up in some areas, so I wasn't thrilled about that. Then we have the shade Mocha Mama, and this one is basically the exact same shade as Hug in a Mug, but it's got that cooler, almost pinky undertone to it, so very similar amount of lightness to it. Again, matches my skin tone pretty well, and I know that I'm just being very picky at this point, but I just don't understand the naming of this polish. It is incredibly light. It is not mocha colored, so just wanted to throw that out there too. And I thought that I was going to be able to get away with doing 2 coats, but it was just a little bit patchy. There were some areas that just looked like they didn't have enough nail polish on, and because it wasn't self-leveling, I couldn't really let it spread out onto my nails, so I did end up having to go in for a 3rd coat. Again, just not totally thrilled about that, just because I feel like this isn't a particularly unique shade. When it comes to 3 coaters, when you have nails as short as mine, I think it's acceptable when it's a unique color that would be hard to find elsewhere, but I think this type of nude is just a dime a dozen, so I would rather go with a better formula for it. So now we're kind of getting into the darker nude shades. This one is called Caffeinated and Motivated, and honestly, this is the first point in this collection where I felt that these colors were actually coffee inspired. That's just a personal gripe, but I did think it was a little weird to have so many light shades in a coffee themed collection. But this one was a pretty lighter brown cream shade, and this was a perfect perfect example of how you could see that not self-leveling formula, just because a lot of times when you're painting on your nails, you'll almost get these sort of areas where the nail polish isn't perfectly smooth, but as the nail polish settles onto your nail, it kind of evens out. That's what I mean by self-leveling, and that is something that these polishes just didn't have. So I feel like even though this one was almost there in 2 coats, I feel like I would have been able to get away with it if it was self-leveling, but it wasn't, so I had to do a 3rd. And honestly, I still felt like it wasn't looking fully opaque in 3. Moving on, we have the shade Brew That, and this one is a medium brown cream, and this is another shade just gorgeous in the bottle. I love the way that it looked, and when I started applying it on my nails, I felt like it looked sheer in the first coat, but it actually ended up being the first and only polish in the collection that gave me 2 coat coverage. So I really loved this shade. I think it looks very beautiful. Again, not very self-leveling, but it's still such a pretty color. It's this nice, just classic medium brown cream, so always good to have in your collection. And last but not least, we have the shade My Broomstick Runs on Coffee, which I have no idea what is going on with these names. Why is all of a sudden this last shade witch themed and also coffee themed when there was nothing else remotely witch related to this, but I guess it is what it is. This shade I actually thought was another one that was really stunning, and I didn't think that I was going to be able to get full opacity in 2 coats, but it actually ended up drying a little bit darker than it looked when I was applying it. So I think I could get away with doing 2 coats of this one, and I think the color is really pretty. It's just this nice deep brown shade, almost looks black in deeper lightings. So here are all of the polishes together, and I do want to say, I know that I ripped on this collection a lot, but I think overall the color story is gorgeous. I do wish that there were more deeper tones. I get that they were trying to go for a nude collection and they were just doing it in the theme of coffee, but I just feel like for a coffee collection, these top 3 shades do not say coffee to me at all. They just say light nudes. Maybe the bottom 3 feel a little bit more coffee-like, but again, even that light brown shade just felt a little bit too light for me as well, and I really would have loved to see a deeper, richer coffee-inspired collection. And actually, mini spoiler for a future small brand Sunday review, there is another brand that came out with a coffee-inspired collection for fall 2022, and I will be reviewing it, and I think that they did a better job representing the coffee inspiration, so stay tuned for that. But yeah, I think all of these colors look really gorgeous together. You might notice in the intro and outro of this video, I actually did do a skittle of these shades, and I think that they look stunning together, but I just think between the formulas, it just wasn't for me. All right, so those were the polishes, and I have very mixed feelings about this collection. Like I said in the beginning of the video, this was really a roller coaster of emotions for me, because when I first saw these promo photos online, I did not like this collection. I thought it was super boring. I didn't think that the brown shades were really rich enough to go with the coffee inspiration. But then once I got them in person, I was like, oh, I actually really love these. And then once I tried them and swatched them, I realized I did not like them. But then I was really tempted to do a skittle nail design anyway, which is what I'm wearing right now. And then I really loved the way that they looked. So I have no idea how to feel about this collection. And by the way, I have been doing a little mini series of shorts on my channel where I show you what I've been wearing this week. So stay tuned. You'll see a close-up of what this manicure looks like. But I do have 5 of the colors on, and I love the way that the skittle looks, almost to the point where I can forgive the formula. But yeah, let's take a moment to talk about the formula in general. I thought it was extremely thin. So now the way that that worked for me in this case is when I tried to use my regular amount of polish on the brush, it did not apply to the full nail because it is so thin, it just didn't work. So I realized pretty quickly once I started swatching these that I had to really flood the brush. I just had to use a lot more than I normally would for nail polish in order to get an even coat on my nails. So just something to keep in mind with this collection. I do think it's a little bit different from the usual China Glaze formula. And I also found that it really wasn't self-leveling leveling, which can be very frustrating if you're a beginner or if you're a person who just doesn't know how to smooth out the nail polish quickly enough. Then you might find yourself with areas of your nail that are a little lumpier. Now, usually that's something that top coat can fix, but it's nice to not have to worry about that in general. So just another thing to keep in mind. So that's why I'm pretty conflicted, because I feel like they look gorgeous on and I want to recommend them, but I just don't think that the formulas were up to the standard that I like. But then again, China Glaze is a very inexpensive brand. So I don't know. I'm curious to know what you guys think though. So I actually ended up getting the availability information wrong when I first filmed this, so don't mind voiceover Kelly coming back to tell you that these polishes are available from Beyond Polish, which is a nail polish retailer, and there the 14 milliliter bottles retail for $4.65 USD each, or they have the full set of 6 at a discounted rate for $25.11. And I also have a discount code. You can use the code KELLI for 10% off your order there, so I'll link it down below. So like I said, these are very cheap, which makes the formula a little bit more forgivable, but it's up to you what you want to do. So I don't know. I just love the way that these look together. I think this is the prettiest fall skittle. But yeah, like I said, I'm curious to know what you guys think of it. If any of you have tried it, am I just having a bad experience? Did I get a bad batch or something? Or did you notice similar issues? Do you love the colors? Do you hate the colors? Are you offended that these colors are super, super light for being coffee themed? Or is it just me? But leave all of your thoughts in the comments. I would love to chat with you about it. And if you enjoy my content here on YouTube, please give this video a thumbs up. It really helps me out, lets me know I'm doing a good job. And if you're not already subscribed to my channel, please consider subscribing. I put out new videos every Tuesday, Friday, and Sunday. And I've also been doing a couple of bonus videos here and there on Thursdays, so you may have noticed. I also have a podcast, if you didn't know. It is about geeky movies, and the current season is about Star Wars. I am actually watching the franchise for the first time in my life and giving all of my thoughts and opinions on it, so I will link that down in the description if anyone's interested. And a huge shout out to all of my supporters on Patreon, my first royal astronomer Amanda M, as well as my cosmic admirals Rocket Man's daughter Paula, Ken, and Rosie. I really appreciate your support, and I'll see you all in my next video. Bye. Today's fun fact question comes from Patreon supporter Delane, and Delane wants to know, what was your least favorite high school subject or class? And Delane's was phys ed, which is fair. I did go to a high school that had like a little bit of a funky curriculum, so we didn't really have PE. We had a health class that was occasionally in our little mini gym, but a lot of times we didn't have to do anything physical. We just learned about physical education. So it was very much a school for nerds, which I didn't actually enjoy that class either, even though I didn't really have to do much moving around. But my least favorite class was definitely physics. That was definitely the class that I struggled the most with, and so I definitely hated it for that reason. I was pretty much an A student, except for physics. I did so poorly in that I don't remember what my grade was originally, but I remember I made a deal with my physics teacher that I would write a super, super long paper, and for every page he would raise my average 1 point. I can't believe he agreed to that deal, but I think I ended up with a B, and I wrote like a 20-page paper, so it was not great. But yeah, definitely physics. I had a very hard time with it. I struggled to understand it, and it just didn't like connect with me. If anybody wants to share their least favorite high school class, you can let me know in the comments, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye!